cosmos, and we were lifted. And then I exploded myself in atoms, because that's what it is. You become light, you become consciousness, you're aware of that, and you go into the world. So we saw the ships, we saw their beings, we saw the spheres of light, that sometimes there are ways that they move. Sometimes it's a way that where they live, they can feed themselves with light. And then it was so easy, because these beings always say, keep it simple. Everything is very simple if you don't think too much. So take your mind away, start thinking with your heart, start feeling it. And once we were taken there, it's a bliss, because all you do is just feeling, and the consciousness of you being part of everything. You just go back to source, and you're just part of everything. And for me, that was a way we were feeding ourselves too. And then very far away, because we were on the edge of a road overlooking a lagoon. That's a different story, with the crystal temple and all that. I heard my driver's voice saying, your father is waiting for us. He's going to be very worried. It's late. But it was snowing. And then probably for you, like for me in Colorado, you know how snowflakes look. So these snowflakes had symbols. They were all different symbols. So we had to look at it. And at that time, it was 2010. We only had different types of cameras, very basic cameras. None of them worked besides one that allowed us to take all the photos and everything that I still have as a memory of what happened that day. And I still go back every year on the 20th of October, because it started the 20th of October 2010. That comes to 33. And that's why also they chose number 3 as a master for 33 steps into the galactic consciousness. So after that, I learned how they can manifest. I learned how to communicate with them. I learned who they were, what they wanted. So when I travel mostly on my own, or my husband or friends go with me. And I just follow guidance of what needs to be done in certain places, or certain places, they start calling energetically someone that needs to be there to hold the energy, or open the doors for them, or help them, because we need to raise the frequency of the planet for the transition that we're going through right now, for the ascension of our planet and humanity.
Let's talk about the ascension. But before we do, I want to mention, from my perspective, I love the fact that there's more. Just for me, my personal experience, I love the fact that we are not just a community on Earth, but we are actually a galactic and an intergalactic community. There is so much more than we know, and that people find acceptable. But I find magic in everything that you're describing. I'm like, wow, 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 how incredible it is that there are beings of love and light helping the planet. And you talked about codes and in the snowflakes. So I have heard you describe the light codes and how they are all over the planet, and that when you travel um, to open or close portals, you see the galactic codes. But before I get there, I want to know why you are known as a galactic shaman, because that is a very cool name.
Well, you know that in Peru, the Incas, they have their own religion that it was called the Inca cosmogony, that is based on honoring the earth and the 4 elements. So it's still in the south of Peru, especially in the Cuzco area where I live, people honor that. So we mix the Catholicism with Inca cosmogony. So we still have times and places where we go to honor the earth. And I use a lot of energy, and I use my hands when I do my ceremonies or contact ceremonies or initiations. So when I used to go to Spain, people call me a galactic shaman because of the ceremonies before the actual contact, or before the initiations, meditations, or ceremonies that we were doing. And that's a way first to honor the earth, the elements, to move the energy that is accumulated in a place and use it for whatever purpose we're doing at the moment.
So that's wonderful. You have been traveling all over the world. And I've heard you say, well, I met you at a beautiful conference in Shasta. and then you recently went to Mongolia. And are you just guided to go and just follow the intuition, or is there knowledge that you learned during your training about the different temples and energies around the planet? Um,
If we think that everything is interconnected in different worlds, even in the interterrestrial world, everything is interconnected. All the cultures were interconnected. The universe is interconnected. So wherever you go, there are remnants of light in different places. And I just follow guidance. If I hear that I need to go to a place and it's very easy to get there, then I go. When it's very difficult, of course, it takes me longer to get prepared for weather or access to different places. Mongolia, for example, it was a trip that I was thinking of doing probably 20 years ago, and it never happened. This time it was like, yes, it's time to go. It really, I really need to go. And the Mongolian Desert is very well known because of Shambhala and Nicholas Roderick and the flag of peace that a lot of people use around the planet. For me, it was more than that. I think there are many temples that are hidden underneath the desert, the Gobi Desert, places that needed to be interconnected with the rest of the world. And in the past, ancient cultures, I mean, their highest priests, they knew exactly what they were doing. And sometimes they closed those places and they locked the knowledge and the codes and everything for whoever comes next to open it when it's needed. And that's what I do. I just travel and it's not usually a common tour. It's just knowing and feeling what needs to be done and where to go. What's the connection, especially with Peru and Egypt, that are the base of the ancient cultures. And then, as like the Egyptians, they use the flower of life, and I use it a lot in my ceremonies and everything, because that's the symbol of how everything is interconnected and how we're all interconnected. Mongolia was still very pristine, very sacred. Most of the places in the Gobi Desert reminded me of my ranch in Peru. Even the cattle. So for me, that was just a connection that needed to be done. And once I activated all that in Mongolia, 2 weeks ago, I went back to where my ranch was. And it was very good to go back and reconnect with the land and reconnect with all that Andromeda Center that for me was my Andromeda Center for Galactic Consciousness. And then we lost it when it became a gold mine, because in Peru, you own the surface, underneath belongs to the government. So it was very good to go back and start reconnected all those ancient lands.
Beautiful. I want to ask you about what is going on in the planet as in general. We are all hearing about ascension, and I am of the opinion that we've always been ascending. We've always been ascending, and there are people that have always been at the highest level, and there are many people here. I mean, I personally want to bring more love and light into this world. And I think that there are many people like yourself going around the planet infusing love and light and allowing more light into the planet. What is what are you getting as to the future of where we're going? Because while I saw you in Shasta, I heard many people talk about the end times, how horrible it is, how this is going to happen and that's going to happen. And I am of the opinion that whatever we think is going to happen is going to happen. And I am all for love and light. My vision of the future is bright. Uh, what is your take on all of the goings on?
Well, I think you're right when you say we're always ascending, we're always
Mhm.
changing, we're always learning every day. The thing, and this is according to many scientists, is that everything is changing in the universe. So the location of the Earth and the Milky Way is changing. So the planet is moving into a different location. And that would be part of the ascension process. We're moving into another location that belongs to a different dimension. So we move on 3D. Supposedly, the Earth is moving into an area that it's a 5D. right? When we talk dimensions and frequencies and all that,
But
what is
what does
what
that
does that mean?
mean?
Well, it means that everything that we know is going to change, but it starts changing with humanity, being awakened of what is around us. That not everything that is based on money or ego is going to survive, because we have to go back into the spiritual side of humanity. And for me, the changes are those, trying to help people understand that there's much more to us also, that what we live every single day, yes, it's part of it, but there's another half that we need to work on that spiritual side, same as we do for our material world. Because as much as I know, from all the messages that I channel also, the sun is exploding every day. We get a lot of solar flares. The human resonance that measures the energetic field of the earth is increasing. And once the sun keeps exploding, then the gamma rays are so intense that our bodies, the physical bodies, need to be prepared for what we take in. So when people talk about ascension and the symptoms and all of that, well, it's happening, and a lot of health issues and a lot of mental and emotional issues are because of that. So if people would be aware that that's the sun and its solar energies, and we would learn how to channel that energy and integrate it into our bodies, so the cell and the cellular process in our physical bodies will expand, and we would adapt to live in another dimension, another frequency, it will be much easier. I think there's a lot of people that are learning, even with the new medical devices and all that, people are learning that, yes, something needs to be changed. But at the same time, with all this new energy coming in, the plants, everything that we eat is already mutating into new energy. So the body needs to adapt into that. I mean, for me, it's easy. We're not going to make it complicated. We just have to be aware and have the consciousness awaken to make sure that we're going through a lot of changes. And everything starts with ourselves. We need to connect to ourselves. Unconditional love is based on loving ourselves first, too, before we can give anything to anybody. And also, when we talk about vibration, frequencies, and dimensions, yes, we're changing every day. And that's why people feel so different. Sometimes people can wake up one morning, they look at in the mirror, and they don't know who they are anymore. Or they're confused along the day. They don't know what's going on. And this is all based on that energy, frequency, and dimensions.
And you mentioned that that was the solar flares and the sun. And I think, well, I know you meant at some point I heard you talk about the solar temples all over the planet. And so are those temples magnifying the energy from the sun coming onto the planet?
In a way, because those solar temples that are all over the world were dedicated to the sun in different ancient cultures, because the sun represented God. And those temples used to hold all the energy that it was needed whenever there was a change, like now. This has happened many, many times in the universe, and for us, thousands and thousands of years. Every time these temples get activated, that energy is there for the people that know how to use it, or when it's needed, probably they're just going to open up and start helping, creating, as I see it, bubbles of light or spheres of light to protect people. Especially in Peru, in Cuzco, there are many solar temples in the Sacred Valley and Machu Picchu from the ancient times. I don't even say that it would be from the Inca times, but from the pre-Inca times, connected to the Egyptians, and then also in Mexico, Bolivia, and many different places. And when you hear about people talking about temples, most of them will be talking about solar energies. And most of us, I think, we carry a lot of solar energy. For example, myself, I wouldn't identify myself with the lunar or moon energies. I do with the sun. And sometimes when I do my ceremonies, when I'm traveling, usually I use noon or 3 in the afternoon to hold that solar energy.
Oh, that's beautiful. When we were in Shasta, um, there there there's a the guardians of the land. I'm bringing this up because there's a solar aspect to Shasta, and while I was there, there were tours, and there are guardians of the land called the Telos.
I think Telos is an intraterrestrial city in Mount Shasta that is connected to many, many other intraterrestrial
No,
cities.
no,
And they have a temple, and they say that Telos it's like a refuge for people from Pleiades that decided to go inner Earth. And I think their director is called Adama, and a lot of people contact him, and they contact the people in Telos that they live underground in Mount Shasta.
and so throughout the world, there are other places like this, and they're
Many,
all because we're all
many.
interconnected. And it is my belief that so many beings from the universe are here to help us ascend, and they all have knowledge to share. Um, is that your belief as well? That there is so much help for us, and all we have to do is ask for it.
Yes, yes, because if we talk about Telos, it's interconnected with many different extraterrestrial cities and temples around the world. For example, when I was talking about my lagoon, there's a crystal temple underneath that is connected to all these extraterrestrial cities. And I call them crystal temples because most of them carry a crystal that in the past it was like I don't know, a CD of information. It's all coded in light, and they're
In the
still
crystal.
holding. Yeah, they're still holding that energy there for when it's needed, and we can access that and use it for different purposes. There are many places in Argentina. There's a place called Erx in Uruguay, Aurora in Brazil. So there are many all over the world, and I think they're all interconnected, and I think they're all synchronized on the same energy right now, trying to help people. You saw in Shasta, there's so many people that follow the idea of Telos and the city and the lights, and they're all channel different beings from Telos. And I think that's a beginning, and that Shasta, it's a very famous place. There are many that are not famous but do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's wonderful. Um, the other thing I wanted to ask you, and it has to do with the light codes. When you go throughout the world to open and close the portals, are you read are you reading the codes? Do they have a date? How does, I mean, I know you have to get to a certain level, but is there a wording that says open now?
Well, I use my hands for everything when I do
Mm,
ceremonies. Even contact for me is a ceremony. So I start doing ceremonies and using my hands to channel the energy of the places. And I can see them. And then also I learned that in the past, these beings, the high evolved beings at the beginning of times, they left written codes that you normally don't see it unless you're in a specific vibration so you can see it. So I see it in the sky, I see it in the water, I see it on the land, and I'm very grateful because they allow me to take pictures of that so I know what it is. Sometimes I don't know the meanings because I don't even know what languages they are. I don't even know if it's a very strange galactic language or it was a language that it was using here in the past, but I can feel the energy and understand the meaning of it. And sometimes it's like, do this, open this, left these beings out, put this, when there's more codes coming for the
and
planet, like now.
are there different languages in the codes, or
Oh
is it?
yeah, when I take pictures, they're different. I have some that are very old, ancient Sumerian languages, many ancient languages from the beginning of times when the earth was created and they came, all these beings from the stars came to inhabit the land, the planet, and teach the local people things. So it just depends. Sometimes they allow me to take pictures of that so I can keep that even for myself because I know there are codes that they raise the frequency of their codes of unconditional love. So I carry that with me, and integrate that into my heart. Sometimes I get it in my hands to put it on the earth the moment that I'm
Oh,
working, or I give it to people when I do initiations and ceremonies. Sometimes we're working and people require certain codes, so I would use what is in my hand for people to put them on the forehead or their heart, depending what is needed at the moment.
oh, wonderful. Well, I'm going to ask you to do a little meditation for all of us and to give us love. Um, and maybe we'll share some love with the earth. So if you could share that with us, that would be beautiful. Um,
Yes. Well, if we can close our eyes for a moment and just try to put your mind off and feel the energy going through your head, your crown chakra, into your heart, and feel the warmth that it's in your heart. You create a pyramid over your heart and allow that energy that you're feeling all over you. You can use it through your body. You can use it for healing. You can have different colors. I'm going to use the transparent energy that is the highest energy, that it's a mix of different energies and colors. We're going to feel it in our bodies. We're going to feel it in our heart as an expansion of our heart. We're going to send all the light to our families, to our friends, to our planet. We're going to visualize our planet wrapped in light. And we're going to feel all this energy being expanded through our bodies. We can feel that we can touch our families that even they're far away or they pass away. At this point, I mean, we're all connected. So that energy is going to vibrate in everybody's heart. And we're also going to visualize that we're living footsteps of light. So wherever we walk, people that follow us can feel that energy also. If you breathe deeply, you can integrate also that light from your heart, from your hands into your heart, being grateful for being here today. Thank you.
no, that was beautiful. So, Marcela, what is next for you? What are you up to? Are you doing meditation trips? Are you doing initiations? What is coming up for you?
Well, I do all kinds of things, but I'm not a public person. So
Mhm.
sometimes when I travel, or even in Peru or wherever I am, I do ceremonies, initiations, contact ceremonies, and all that as a way of teaching people what ET contact is about, and that there's much more to it. I don't have a set up plan because I just follow
Mhm.
guidance. So whatever comes next, that's what I do if it feels right. If you ask me what I am planning to do, I mean, next, I'm going to reopen my Center for Galactic Consciousness in Peru, not in the ranch that I
Wonderful.
had before, but probably in an area in the Sacred Valley in Cuzco, and just working on that little by little.
Am I getting a world exclusive? This is fantastic. This is my second world exclusive. You heard that first, people. Had conversations with fabulously famous people getting their second world exclusive. Oh, what a treat that would be. And do you visualize that happening during the next year?
Yeah, yeah, because what I had, it wasn't a hotel or retreat center. It's basically the land and being able to have the people open to a different type of contact and initiations and learn how to raise the frequency, and how to connect to themselves. So there are spiritual retreats that I used to do in the past in the 90s, and then I stopped. And I think I'm going to restart doing that again soon, I hope.
Oh, I forgot to ask you one big question, which has to do with your retreat, because I'm sure you're going to do it there. If you had one bit of advice to give to people to how to connect um, to to the knowledge um, and how to raise their level of consciousness, what would you say?
Well, if people know how to meditate or people do yoga or any of that, they already know how to be in silence and how to breathe and connect to themselves. For the people that they don't, is basically, close your eyes, try to put your mind off, forget about everything, even if it's loud and noisy around it, just be able to center down and be able to ground whatever you are, and just start talking to yourself in your heart, learning who you are, what your purpose is, because a lot of people ask themselves like who I am and what I'm going to do, and they're looking for people to tell them what to do, and it doesn't work that way. It has to be done from your heart. It has to be done through yourself. So once you connect to yourself, then it's going to be much easier because you're a whole that connect with everything else outside.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
If someone wants to connect with you, how would they do that? Would they do that via Facebook or?
Facebook or my Gmail. Even my Facebook account is not a public one because I told you before I'm not a public person, but I'm working on that, opening little by little.
Yes. Well, I feel very blessed that you joined me today. I think that you are a light, and just meeting you was joyous. And I believe that everybody or anyone that meets you will be so blessed. Um, you carry an uplifting energy, and it is just, I feel blessed that I get to share you with the world. Thank you for taking the time to be here.
No, thank you. It was very nice to see you again and talk to you again.
Okay, take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.